Hi, my name's Shawn Shaler. That's my friend Chris Ford, aka The Objective Geek. And earlier today, I taught ChatGPT about us. So just throwing it out there, ChatGPT 4. I don't know how it works, but maybe it knows about us for everybody. Now, maybe that's how ChatGPT works. I'm not sure. Anyway, welcome to Avatar The Last Podcasters. This is part 2 of our very spoilery review. Very spoilery. Pretty much a full, nice full summary of the books, as well as our reactions and some feedback as we go through. So super spoilery, but if you stumble on this for whatever reason, I don't know how you got to this one first before other stuff, but we did a no spoiler review 2 weeks ago now. And so spoilers starting right now. If you haven't read it and you're going to, you might consider skipping this one for whatever that's worth. And otherwise, Chris, let's start summarizing.
I should get a tattoo of the 4 elements off my arms like that.
Actually, that'd be awesome. Was
when we were on our
that
cruise,
talked about one time? It was a tattoo that was like, man, it was like Nike, like the Nike sign, but with water. But we said something else other than do the thing for Varric, and it was a Nike sign out of water. That would, I gotta be honest, if I got a tattoo tomorrow, it would probably, that's probably what it would be.
On the cruise ship we were on, there was a tattoo parlor on the ship. I was like, I would get a tattoo. I told my wife, but I was like, you probably wouldn't want me to get one. That's one thing not keeping me from getting a tattoo. She's like, fine, go get a tattoo. And I was like, I don't want to have it.
She called my bluff.
I don't. Well, no, I didn't want to deal with cleaning a tattoo on a cruise and then going on a beach and then like possibly getting sunburn for the first time in my life when I get a tattoo and then it ruins the tat. I don't know.
I ask her again tomorrow, Chris. That's all I'm saying. Throw it out there one more
Sure.
time.
I would get an Avatar tattoo.
I would get a do the thing tattoo. Why not?
All right.
Like the few people that really got it, that really like saw it's like that's Nike and also Avatar. That's funny. I feel like those few people would really appreciate the work.
Yeah. All right. I have faith that I can get through a lot of this pretty quickly because I combine a lot of the chapters because
they
do
shorter.
more of the stuff.
They get shorter toward the end here. Absolutely. I believe in you.
They really do. Even if you look at, because all the chapters are like, start with like, I don't know, shadowy image. You can tell they get shorter. Anyway. All right. Sharp Knife. Next chapter. Malayla woke up because remember she was like knocked out by the mom and daughter, Karen's, who wants to speak to the manager. And she ends up like seeing Gyatso flying in the air. And then she's like, what the heck? And also she's like, where's the fog at? Like the fog is just gone. And so anyway, her and Gyatso meet and they have quick chemistry. I love these two together. They're so opposite. Like Gyatso talks nonstop and she's like, I think smitten with smitten might be too hard word right now, but like in like a couple hours it's definitely some smitteny going on.
Yeah, no, they both have a very strong inherent curiosity about the other that feels real and legitimate.
Yeah. And that's kind of that chapter. You get their relationship. You get how their relationship is built in that chapter. That's most of that chapter there. Anything else to add to that?
Nope. Love them.
All right, Embers. Yeah, definitely. Embers going gray. Roku woke up next to Yulo, and that is like a really short chapter. There's like a little bit of dialogue. Yeah. It's like, why? Just add this to the next chapter you have with
together,
them.
Man. Just he woke up in a hut and they said hi, and there's no. I even looked. There's no timing benefits that are gained by splitting this.
Last time I gave the writer the benefit of the doubt. This time I'm like, why did you? He literally wakes up for a little bit these days.
It ain't
right. Where am I? And Ulo's like, we have much to discuss. And he knocks out again. I was like, why did you waste a chapter on this.
Yeah, we just gave a better, like a longer synopsis of the chapter than the chapter is.
Yeah. Next chapter. Infested with such decay, Gyato and Malayla get closer. Gyato talks about the air nomad philosophy of harmonies. The air nomad philosophy of harmonies, I think, is one of the biggest lore things in the Avatar universe to happen since we learned about Avatar One.
But
Like,
big, that's big.
yeah.
Bold statement.
This was a thing that I was alluding to in the spoiler-free review, or one of the things. I don't know. It was like 2 hours
That
ago.
was a long time ago. Yes, and I think that because I think I said that I feel like you and I will both be just in the. You know what? We're fine with that.
Yeah,
We would have maybe polished it a little bit differently, but it will probably cause some people a little angst.
yeah. I mean, I like that. It's vague enough. I purposely wanted to read it because it's. I think it's a. I think one of those things that I've thought about with the Avatar universe, like a theory in my head. So I mentioned before that this is kind of like the midichlorians of the Avatar universe. It's also kind of like the string, like the theory of everything in our universe. It's like, hey, here's a theory on how like everything ties together, but this isn't much of a more spiritual matter that ties in the Avatar universe.
Hmm?
So,
This is
uh,
so. This is more palatable to me because I don't like the midichlorians in the Star Wars universe. I think it's ridiculous. But this to me is vague enough, and again, just like we talked about last episode with spirit bending being tied to spirituality and chakras being just sort of a visualization of these things that aren't physical. There's enough vagueness there in spiritualism that I'm
yeah,
completely okay with it here. Makes it very
yeah,
palatable to me.
yeah. So Malala asked him one thing, like, "Why are you following Roku?" And Gyato's like, something's been wrong with my airbending for a while now, but I figured out that it works whenever I need to help Roku. And she's like, why do you think that is? And then he stops and he rubs his head and he's like, have you heard of the air nomad philosophy of harmonies? And then he's like, he takes her bow, says, Gyatso, oh, that doesn't matter. He explains, basically, it's the belief that everything is constantly vibrating. This bowstring, the leaves on the trees themselves, the ground, the roots, the rocks, the entire hillside, even the island. Malala says that's ridiculous. And he's like, right. We can't see or sense most vibrations. They're too small. Like the vibrations are small. He then goes on to say, um, please stay a little longer. Oh, Malala focused on the stalk of grass nearby. It looked completely still, but the longer she watched it, the more she started to notice its minute quavering. Then she's like, well, what about us? And then God says, like, even us. According to the philosophers, each person's natural vibration creates a rhythm as unique as their fingerprints. And just as two or more complementary notes in music can create harmonies, the philosophers believe our vibrations sometimes harmonize with others. This is why we might feel drawn to certain people more than others, even before we really get to know them. Then he says, so then she says, so that's you and Roku? And he says, like, possibly. I couldn't explain my airbending. Like, maybe when I'm around him, my spirit remembers its rhythm, remembers who I am supposed to be. We each lost someone very close to us, and maybe that has something to do with it. But if we find him, never tell him I said that. So anyway, so that's kind of theory of the air nomad philosophy of harmonies, and I find it really interesting because I've always tried to think about like one thing: why is the why is um, the order of the Avatar cycle just like that? Why is it always in order? Um, I think because there's a certain rhythm that things like to follow that it's used to. And also like why there's certain connections of past avatars to their predecessors, and I feel like there's I feel like when a spirit in avatar when a person dies, like their spirit's kind of loose. Like it's like lightning in the air, right? Like when lightning falls down, it follows the path of least resistance, and I feel like it is falling to something familiar, and that's why there's connections between past lives. Like that's why friendships transcend lifetimes in the Avatar universe. Why Roku's friends with Gyatso and Gyatso's close to Aang. There's other connections throughout the universe that you see, and so I find that interesting, and I can see that theory being true, or at least just being a really cool theory and world building in the Avatar universe.
I find
Sorry, I talked
the
a lot.
no, that's okay. I find the theory itself good or interesting and sensible inside the Avatar universe, and then everything after that, just taking it at face value. It's just a young guy kind of conjecturing based on an old but seemingly valid theory, right? It's like, oh, maybe that's it, or maybe just like that certain qualities about it. Maybe you're just gonna see. So I don't know that that's the real reason for his tie to Roku, but like I said,
Yeah.
I like the underlying theory as fitting within the larger Avatar universe.
Hmm. Uh, okay. So next thing up. Let's just kind of okay. Bouncing there. Why does this keep going back? I don't need that. uh, okay. Speaking of the path of least resistance, that's the name of the next chapter. The path of least resistance, and also included the local elements. Roku wakes up. He talks to Yolo.
Good
That
old YOLO.
Ulo. Oh, Yolo. Yolo.
Nope,
Um,
it's YOLO now
Ulo.
forever. It's too late.
Yolo talks about the cave spirit, Yoonbig, and the sacred cave. Then later, Roku sneaks out to see, goes to like the sacred cave, and he sees all the paintings and stuff that has the island's history, which depicts like I did find this really interesting. Um, I forget exactly what it depicted, but it depicted like time over time, like different nations either getting conquered by the island or
Uh
the
huh.
island's conquering them. It just
Uh,
depends on how you think
yeah.
you
Were
interpret it.
they conquering each other, and were they the bad guys, or was it outsiders conquering the island? But either way, it was disconcerting, but kind of explained all of the variances in YOLO's
Mm,
stories.
yeah,
But it's immediately supposed to be disconcerting either way. Like that's the feeling it's trying to just. Yep, here you go.
yeah, and also the way that like I had a theory before that did I have that Ulo that certain people can read minds or maybe read intentions. There was something someone did earlier that felt like almost mind reading. And Ulo kind of does that here. Like Roku's like going through the stuff, he's thinking to himself, and then Ulo like almost implants himself into the conversation that Roku's having in his own head, and like he answers a question that Roku was asking himself in his head. I don't think this was just. I don't think it's true that there's
Yeah, I
telepathy.
think
Yeah,
that's
it's just
I think that's a guy
yeah,
who's spent a lot of time, pondering upon his own scheme.
yeah. And then he talks about like the history of that spirit Yumbig and stuff. And I didn't digest a lot of that because also I was like, I don't think any of this is true, and it's through Ulo's own stories, and Ulo's not a, a, a truthful narrator.
Same. I like paid less attention to the story in the book just because I was like, that's hogwash or whatever,
Yeah,
whatever us rustic Kansans say.
yeah. And then he tells them about how the equinox is coming up and stuff, and how that's the only time that he can commune with Yumbig. And then he asks if Roku would join him because he thinks Roku can help him out with something. And Roku's like, "Yeah, it'll be my honor," because Roku's also skeptical of Ulo, but he's like, "I need to find out more about this." All right. So next chapter is marauding bands of airbenders. I don't know why it's called that, but anyway, Gyatso and Malayla uh, continue to talk, and he tells her about his sister. I think he also um, alludes that, like, with the philosophy of harmonies thing, that him losing his sister calls that's also the connection to it. And maybe that explains why he lost that bending, and Roku kind of feels that
His
void a little bit.
vibration is out of whack.
Yeah. And also, I think there's I didn't get it. I'm not getting into it, but there's so much good stuff here between Malayla and Gyatso. Like Malayla is like her walls are just slowly coming down and down. Like, and it goes back to like when they first met. I think in a sharp knife chapter where she has a sharp knife, like threatening Gyatso. Gyatso's like is so unthreatened by it. It's like, yeah, sure, like you can follow me, like you can keep that knife on me if you want. And eventually she just the walls just keep coming down to a point where she feels this connection with Gyatso.
But she's been looking for a reason to let like her wall. Like this is it's
Mm,
very
yeah,
gratifying to like, oh, finally she has this excuse to interact with an outside human that's not trying to steal
that
her
didn't
knife.
betray her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that like she even let her wall down a little bit with those two Earth Kingdom people, and they betrayed her, and that even makes her hesitant here. She's like, do I even like trust this kid? But I did get a sense that what I was really wondering when I read this, Shawn, is for her and Gyat. Like, I kind of would have been mad at. I wouldn't have been mad at this, but it wouldn't have been great writing. But it would have been interesting if they did a twist that, like, in the next book, I don't know, it takes years later, and like Gyatso and Malayla ends up being an item, sort of, or they have this relationship and they sleep together, and Malayla gets pregnant, but like Gyatso struggles with it, like he can't be with her or stuff, but she ends up going to whatever other air temple and has a kid, and what if that kid's Aang? My brain went there, and I was like, that's not great writing, but I would love the twist if it turns. It's it's too on the
Yeah,
nose. But
that's
Yasa was really listen. Again, I'm admitting that's not
yeah.
great writing,
No, I
but
love the mystery of having no idea where Aang comes from also.
I do too.
Also, I picture
But
Gyatso as
I
too
think I
old.
love.
Too
I
old to be
mean,
Aang's dad.
that's true. By that point,
Coming from a guy
Malayla.
whose wife has recently been described as a geriatric mom, which she was not fond of hearing out loud in a doctor's office. First time over 35, you're geriatric mom, apparently. Fun fact.
Wow.
Yeah, she wasn't thrilled with the language.
Oh man, I bet. Yeah. By that point, Malayla would. Gyatso's like 60. Wait, Aang is alive. Holy crap, Gyatso's freaking old. Gyatso's like 80 something when Aang is there.
Yeah, that don't
Yeah,
sound right.
yeah, she would. Yeah, she would have been 60 something, 68.
Not impossible, just not recommended.
Hey, hey, this island has some powers.
Yeah, that's it. Listen, the world is their
that
oyster.
that that her sacred cave is maybe stronger than. I'm kidding.
Great Sacred Cave reference, though. Is that the title of the next chapter by any chance? That'd be funny.
Anyway, it's getting late.
Yeah, it is.
This reminds me of college when I would like stay up with my friends, and it gets to be like 2 or 3 o'clock, and I've never been drunk in my life. The loopiest I've been is just late at night when you just get it's. There has been studies of like when you're up late at night, like you're not borderline drunk, but like those same effects start to happen.
As an RA on the nights when I was on call and I've always had issues sleeping, I would just stay up and play college football. all night. Absolutely.
Did you not to? Did you get the newest one?
No, I don't have a PS5 or a Series X. I
Okay.
I want it, but not enough that I'm compelled to go buy another console.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm not good at Madden, and so I just know I'm not. I kind of want to buy, but I'll wait until probably next year's version when it's like $28.
Yeah. I'm not atrocious at football games. It would not be my worst subject. Originally, I thought it was coming on PC as well. Like, originally, like a year ago or whatever. It was 18 months
Hmm.
ago when it was announced. It was just like 6 months ago when I found out it wasn't. I was like, I guess I'm out.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Da. So they talk about his sister. Oh, he opens up and talks about his sister. Next chapter, the difference in Not Alone. Gyatso, Roku, and Malala hatch a plan because they sneak and talk to Roku. And I really like this. This feels like this is actual Team Avatar with those three together. Like they're I feel like people on Team Avatars, if this philosophy of harmonies is a thing, those three felt like they were in tune.
It's very
They were,
gratifying to have them all together. Feels like
yeah.
feels like the turtles finally meeting and having Casey Jones on their team.
Yeah. Uh, my autocorrect changed a lot of Malaya to Malaysia. Um, Malaysia think YOLO wants to kill Roku. Um, so she has a strong indication that he wants, even though she's not like. There's a lot of assumptions made in this book by certain characters that I don't think they're warranted, but there's not as much foundation for it. Like, why does she think he wants to kill Roku? Just because he's like sneaky and stuff? Like, sure, don't trust him, but she seems pretty certain that he wants to kill Roku.
She's probably a hair. I think she's justified because now she's like, yeah, okay, she's got faith in these new people that she's met that are good, but also she's met some horrible people and learned some horrible, like, she's like in a
Hmm.
traumatic state of vulnerability right now. So I'm okay with it.
Okay. Um, Gyatso and Roku patch things up. I freaking love. If I got tear eyed during any moment in this book, it's when Gyatso and Roku patches things up. Uh, it's on page 249. Let's see. Because they talk about. Let's see, Roku was away as possible. If I don't want to believe it, I promise I'll be from. Okay. Um, Kind of when they're ready to like part ways. Anyway, he says, "I'm sorry, Gyatso." Um, they talk a lot about them losing their siblings. Um, and at one point says Roku stepped forward and embraced Gyatso. They held each other for a long time. But Layla felt like an intruder to their intimacy, but it was a beautiful thing to witness. In her 16 years, nobody had ever held her like that. And then Roku said, "May Yama's flame light our way." And then Gyatso said, "And may Yasu's do the same." They pulled apart and looked at each other. "I'm sorry, I couldn't have made it this far without you." Anyway, lots of great stuff. I freaking love that uh, apology, that coming together of those two. Really love that.
Agreed.
All right. Oh, and then Guest also says an interesting thing of like our elders teach us that he said he was saying sorry that he said he wasn't the right avatar. He says our elders teach us that the avatar is always the exact person the world needs at the given moment. Kyoshi's light found you for a specific reason, even if you can't see why yet. Honestly, was Roku the right avatar for that moment? I would argue no. Uh,
But hey, man, if it wasn't Roku, Fire Nation stuff could have been worse sooner. I
I guess so.
Could have been.
So I guess
So,
no one's right for the job.
but I also don't want to
Fire Nation.
believe. Yeah, no, right. There's no winning. But I also don't really want to believe in the whole destiny thing. I like the old
I mean,
power
I
of
do
free
think
will dictating my stories more personally.
I do. It's not that I think I think the avatars. I think each avatar besides Roku becomes what the world needs, or like I mean, the world in Aang's story. I do think the world needed a person like Aang who was about harmony over everything. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't even about um because I always have this concept that peace is different from harmony. It's about more than peace. It's about harmony and creating balance in life. And then Korra's time frame, I'm not sure that would have been that successful. That approach, Korra's approach was different and varied. Kyoshi's time probably needed more of that. Uh, like the world was almost in shambles. Like it might have needed that more authoritative figure. So anyway,
Yeah, I'm gonna stand by my statement and say that just having somebody close to the royal family at all during that time was probably some kind of deterrent. So I'm gonna say in
no,
that
yeah,
sense that's still a valid theory. Like I don't know if I subscribe to it. I think it's just a nice saying.
yeah. Next chapter, Fire Meant to Forge. Sozin arrives on the island. I think that's it.
Good.
Um, next chapter. Next chapters. I put a bunch together, like the next 6 chapters. The plan, Fulcrum, the teeth of the trap, favored by the spirits, the machine, exhale, that also smooth melon. That's a weird way to end all
It's a strange chapter title. I mean, you
the.
know immediately what it is, but
Yeah.
regardless.
Ulo talks to Roku. In one of them, Gyatso and Malayla discuss the plan to free the Earth trespassers because the Earth trespassers, including the mom and daughter, were captured by the island natives. So Gyatso and Malayla comes up with a plan. Like they're trapped in these cages that's far up. She has to shoot the cage, drop them down, but Gyatso has to cushion them enough that it breaks the cage. Wait, cushion them enough that they don't die, but not too much that it doesn't break the cage because the cage has to break for them to get out and get free. So they do that. They work really good together. Then there's a really cool Malayla versus Amihan fight. I think that was really cool. And Malayla ends up defeating Amihan. At the same time, Ulo takes Roku through the tunnels to the secret cave, to the sacred cave. The freed Earth trespassers, they end up after Amihan defeats. I'm sorry, after Amihan is defeated and the Earth trespassers are freed. Those security guards go to the village and just destroy the village and kills people. Like it's really messed up. Gyato and Malayla and Gyatso go back to the village and they see this destruction. Malayla has vengeance on her mind. She's like, all right, I'm gonna kill him. Like she's like, I'm gonna straight up kill them. I don't care if I just saved them. While Gyatso is trying to um, keep her from doing so because because of course he doesn't believe in killing, so he's like, vengeance isn't the right thing. Also, he's like, we have these people here that we have to save and protect. They're all still in danger. We have to get them all to safety and stuff. Sozin arrives on the scene just as they are kind of done rescuing, as Gyatso and them are done rescuing everyone. Uh, and Malayla, like, she sees this look in Sozin, and she's like, "Oh, that's that same look that Ulo has, like that deadly look." She is reaching. She's right, but she's reaching. I don't understand. I'll get more to
We
her.
know, but it doesn't feel like she should.
Yeah. Um, Ulo then takes Roku to the sacred cave. They start meditating. Ulo's like, listen, don't bend. Just close your eyes. Don't do any bending at all. And Roku's like, I think he's gonna try and kill me. And then right at that certain moment, uh, Ulo tries to kill Roku, and then they start a big fight. Both powered up, I think, by the sacred area that they're in. Then Malila and Yatso agree to help Sozin find Roku because Sozin comes up and he's pretty rude, like to Gyatso. And then like Malila just doesn't trust Sozin. So that's those chapters put together.
Well done. Well summarized.
All right. Next couple chapters. They are Hide from the World and Hope for the Best, The Dirt Eaters, Not Enough, and Beyond Repair. So Roku tries to talk to the spirits. That might not be at this point in time. Anyway, Team Sozin, which includes Sozin, not Malay, Sozin Salad. No, oh my gosh,
Did you
what's her
just say
freaking
salad?
name?
I don't remember her name. The accomplices' names.
Yeah, and Kazaru, whatever the heck their names
Yep.
are.
Yep. Don't remember the names. Kazanaru.
Maybe Malisade? Dallasay. That's her name. Dallasay.
Dallasay.
Yeah, Dallasay. Um, oh, good. Man, I'll skip a bunch of stuff here. Yeah, okay. Anyway, yeah, Dallasay. So Dallasay, Kazaru, or whatever her name is, Karuzo, and Sozin, and Gato, and Malala, they're fighting the Earthbenders. And Malala is really fighting one, and she almost kills the Earthbender. Because one thing he kind of brags about, like he's like, I'm gonna kill you guys, like I destroyed that village. Like he's bragging about it. He's showing no remorse. She gets to a point where she's just beating the crap out of this dude, and she's just wailing on him. He's kind of defenseless. He's already knocked out, and Gato has to like hold her back, and she's so afraid now that like, oh, Gato saw me, like saw the real me. Like I could never be like she has these ideas in her head of like being more like him. Like she's buying into so much of what he's selling and the air nomad philosophy, and she's teaching her. I just really love those two's connection. And she feels like she might have, because of her actions against this Earthbender, she might have lost Gyatso because it's just not Gyatso. Like when she sees Gyatso, she sees like this perfect little monk. Like he's so innocent, and I'm just not that. But she's Aang's grandmother, FYI. That's canon.
I have concerns. Well, no, I have fewer concerns with grandmother. Why not? Let's go with that.
Well, we'll soon learn why we can't go with that, but
one level. There's still some questions that need answered.
yeah. Okay. Gosh, I hate when I keep. Okay. So they fight. So, Roku fights Ulo, and I can't. The thing about this fight that when I read it, it sounded fairly cool, but I don't remember much of it.
I had a hard
Like,
time. I had a hard time visualizing this one.
yeah, I think because it's sort of in an enclosed space, but they're moving around.
We
Yeah,
don't have
like
a good sense of the space. Also, like I know it's enclosed, but it sounds huge. But is it huge?
yeah,
Is
I
it
don't.
because the size of their moves are so much bigger when it's overpowered like this?
Mhm. Yeah, I don't know about this one. Like I compare like the fight scenes in. I know it's hard to compare, or maybe it's not fair to compare it to the other Kyoshi novels, but it was very easy for me to follow her fight with Zhu. Like she lifts him up, a column of air goes into the sky, and she holds him by a freaking collar. He spits out fire at her. She swallows the fire, and and sucks the air out of his lungs and then drops the lifeless body. Like,
It was
man,
it was a much cleaner picture painted.
yeah. Uh, okay. Okay. So that fight's going on, the Roku versus Ulo fight. And then Gyatso, Dalase, Roku. I'm sorry, Team Sozin with Gyatso and Malila. At some point, Soden's like, "All right, you guys show me the way." Right, and they're all traveling together to go find Roku. And then it gets to the point where they get like to the tunnel, and then Soden's like, "All right, Malila, show me the way." And Gyato's like, "No, no, no, I'm coming with you." And Malala's like, "It's okay. You can just trust me. It's okay." Why did Gyatso say yes to that? Like, I don't understand why they had to split up.
I don't either. Off the top of my head, just given the time of evening and a few weeks since I read it, I'd have to reread it. Only because, not because I doubt you, I just don't remember having an issue at the time of reading it or having to think about why that was. Um, but no, I don't remember
I
what Gyatso's motivation would have been.
When I looked at it, I still didn't. When I read it, I didn't understand why they had to split up. Like, I went to it because I was like, I still don't understand why they split up. Page 299. I have the page Beyond Repair. So it's the no, I guess. Why not? I don't need. Oh, okay. So it says here. Um, Everyone started toward the steps carved into the side of the earthen pit that led down to the arch entrance in the rocks. But Sozin held out a hand to halt Kazuru, Dalase, and Gyatso. Just the girl and me, he said. Kazuro shrugged and sat down on a nearby rock because Kazuro doesn't care. Dalase rolled her eyes, muttered something about a library, and stormed off. Gyatso shook his head. If she goes, I go, he said. Hope sparked to life within Malala. Maybe her violent lapse of control hadn't completely ruined whatever was growing between them. And then Sozin goes, how sweet. But no, Gyatso didn't move. Why not? I don't need you. And to be honest, I don't trust you. You don't trust me? I'm an air nomad. Exactly, Sozin said. As my father always says, never trust anyone who won't eat meat. So that's the reason that they. Even so, if I'm Gyatso, I'm like, you don't have any leverage here. Like, we're the ones showing you the way. Like, I'm gonna go with her. Because one thing, I don't trust you. I think that's one. I think that's bad writing. Like, you just wanted to set the stage that Malala and Sozin were alone, and I didn't follow.
Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, upon your reread there, it's troublesome, like issue with more than qualm, but nothing too serious. Just a setup for a line that the author really
Yeah,
wanted to say out loud.
yeah, I don't know. Because also like he could have done it by like injuring Gyatso somewhere along the path. That would have been an easy write-in of like, Gyatso's kind of slowing us down, and Sozin could have been like, "You're slowing us down. Like we got to go, me and her." Like, but oh, and then like he'll be like, "All right, I'll leave behind Kazuru and Dallas say so we don't jump her or whatever." So I mean, he wouldn't say that, but you know. So yeah, I thought that was better writing. Um,
Fair enough.
or maybe I'm making too big. Anyway, but okay. But I do like this moment when Gyatso and Malala say goodbye. Um, uh, where is it? Okay, so she says, "I'll be fine. Trust me like you trust Roku." Gyatso nodded, then embraced Malala. Her heart filled. It was the first time anyone had ever held her like that. Be careful, he whispered into her ear. I will, she said. And then, Gyatso, yes. She pulled back and looked him in the eye. Do you think some people are born broken? No, he said, without hesitation. There are things in this world that can break us, but I've learned there's always a way to heal. Malala blinked back tears. Maybe after all this is over, I can go back to the Southern Air Temple with you. Yato smiled. I'd like that. Uh, so yeah, love that goodbye between those two, and I freaking hate Sozin because I love those two together.
Yeah, Sozin turned a corner real quick in here, somewhere from like relatable to the struggle to like, you know what, you flipped a switch real quick here, trying to get back at Dad, and I don't care
Yeah,
for it.
yeah. Da, da. Okay, so next couple of chapters, a spirit of all nations. We're kind of round out a bit. This is probably like the anyway. A spirit of all nations. Her final act. That near miss with destiny and fading warmth. Fading warmth. Ulo versus Roku. More stuff happens that I don't know. I can't explain. But Roku does use both air and fire in this attack, and he ends up and he beats Ulo. And then he goes in the spirit world and he figures out that the Yumbig is like doesn't give a crap about. It's not that he doesn't give a crap, but Yumbig has the spirit. Yunbig is actually two spirits who are kind of I don't know yin and yang of each other, pushing back and forth, kind of deal,
I took it
eternal
as
dance kind of
yeah,
stuff.
I took it as like a combative dance, like a theatrical but combative and aggressive,
Yeah, and this always happens on the equinox,
and that they
and
don't
that's
give
where
a
the fire.
crap about the regular world at
Yeah,
all. Yeah.
yeah, they don't. This is just happenstance that this happens. They don't. They don't even talk to Roku. Roku can't talk to them. They're kind of just natural phenomenons, if you will, that can't be helped. It just is
Mm-hmm.
what it is.
And in my
How do you
mind, the
feel about that?
equinox, I'm completely fine with all that. In my mind, the equinox is like, oh, the two worlds are just a little closer together today because of the alignment of such and such, and that's when they like to fight and or dance or whatever. I'm completely fine with that. I would say I have a little issue, and I alluded to it maybe last episode, with people having such easy access to their power just because they're here. That's kind of weird to me.
Yeah,
But it's nebulous enough that I didn't give it too much thought.
I was disappointed in this secret.
Okay.
That I was disappointed in the sense that here's this secret that is the synopsis of the book, and it is like just nothing. There's nothing you can use. It is worthless, and it just it
That's
just
where the stakes feeling lower hits the hardest. Like all this
yeah,
entire book kind of amounts to, oh well, what happened was not much.
yeah.
It also makes
Uh,
YOLO's plan look kind of stupid in hindsight.
True.
His
Yeah,
plan
it
with
does.
Roku, so it
Where
feels.
your plan was to sacrifice Roku
And what was
to
that good?
to this thing that even you can't talk to,
Yep.
and you guys have been sacrificing people to this thing, or I don't know if they've been sacrificing. They've probably been sacrificing trespassers
Trespassers
to the
and yeah, I don't think it definitely people. I don't think it implied that it was their own people or anything like that.
yeah,
Long story short, I think it was devaluing a little bit to the experience. At least a little. I won't say a lot personally. Might have hit us different, of course. And then it's a little strange to me of a spirit being in a place
yeah.
making access to its power possible for just anybody. Any bender, just
Maybe,
like, oh, I'm glad they're here. But I guess I don't know. I
yeah.
guess the water, like the moon and the ocean spirits, kind of, sort of similar concept.
Hmm. Yeah, maybe this is a metaphor for because he says like Roku's understanding cut through Ulo's mistruths and deliberate fictions and allowed him to grasp. Anyway, maybe it's a metaphor for like people using faith or power to control the masses. Because he did talk before. Ulo talked before about like, oh, you got to control the people. You control them through whatever thing he said. Maybe alluding to that.
Maybe it's just a metaphor for like the power of belief, like we were referencing earlier.
Yeah, sure. So that is that
Like
chapter.
blind belief being its own dangerous thing too. I could see that.
Yeah. Okay. He beats Okay, so Malayla and Sozin try to find Roku, both wanting to kill the other. Um, I don't. I don't. I think this is bad writing. I don't understand why Malayla jumped to the conclusion that, oh, I have to kill Sozin.
Uh-huh.
But
I thought that was pretty extreme.
I think this was the worst writing in all of the novels. Like one thing, she just dealt with this this near killing experience and how it affected her and her relationship with Gyatso. And then she also just met Sozin. Like, sure, she sees in his eyes that he has malevolent intent or whatever. But like, you're just you just got that from his eyes. Like, yeah, he has maybe he just has resting B face or something.
Mm,
I don't know,
I
but
don't think
it's just
it's not. This isn't worse writing than that jumpy bullcrap from the last Yang Chen novel. This is not worse than that. This is. I'm still cutting her some slack because she's been through a very traumatic couple days of literally like the highest highs and the lowest lows that she could possibly have experienced in that time, and then she finally has an out, a I don't even know what you want to call it, like a lifeline to what real life is like, and she sees this as a threat, and she's been traumatized. So I'm gonna call it pretty lazy
I
writing.
think it's way. I think it's the that writing that we talked to before about that Yang novel. That was a matter of of the timetable being stupidly confusing and off. Right? If I'm remembering right.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe I am.
Just they
Oh,
presented things out
but
of
like,
order for not a
yeah,
good at all reason. See
yeah.
that to
But
me
like the
is a
stuff
way that to me is a way bigger crime. You're just withholding information
that
for like some kind of shitty dramatic effect.
it
I'll
was,
fight
yeah.
against that every day.
But the things that happened to me made sense. It didn't make sense that they purposely went out of order, but the things that happened in it. This to me, this is just
But remember, the
a
thing that they found
huge
out was that he's also cheating. Like that was their big reveal. Like I don't
the who's cheating. The
that that they were being cheated also, and now they're cheating. Like that was the big reveal from that whole experience. So it's not like that was a very good end game to that moment either. So I disagree. This is
I
not that bad.
I just understand she jumps to like I have to kill.
She does.
So like
It's a big
she's
jump.
the the chapter is titled "Her Final Act." She's like, if I do anything in this world, I'm gonna kill Sozin. Like she has such conviction in her, as if she knows, as if somehow she saw the future.
She has
Saw that he's
projected all of her island's insecurities onto a single
yeah,
person accurately but unfoundedly.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was just a huge
It's a
jump.
it's a
Granted,
big leap.
she is right
Yeah, she is.
that even in this moment she needs to kill Sozin. Because Sozin, I think this is also bad writing, but it's more believable because of Sozin. Sozin also like, oh, I gotta kill her. I don't think Sozin has to kill her in this sense. I mean, and they say like, oh, because he wants to keep this all secret and stuff, but it feels less important because by the end of the book, whole secret's out, and it wasn't all that big of a deal. And so him being like, oh, I gotta kill her. It's not that. I don't have as big of an issue with this as the other one, because the other one to me is a big leap of judgment and also leap of where that character wanted to go and aspire to.
Hmm?
While Sozin is just like, all right, everyone is a freaking plaything to me. I can kill.
This is a judgment
What?
call that's at least consistent with things that Sozin has done previously, at a
Yeah,
minimum.
yeah. So near miss. Oh, in that, they fight. She like stabs him with a knife, um, or whatever. Uh, what else happens? They fight. Like they go first. They go through this tunnel, and at first Malayla's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go through first." And Sozan's like, "No, me first." So then it's pretty much you're at a disadvantage when you're the last person to get out the tunnel because you're anyway. So he ends up killing her. And it's kind of a sad death. Like she says, like uh, she tried, failed to get back to her feet. She was too sluggish and dizzy, and her head was still ringing like the world was splitting apart. A moment later, she was consumed by fire. At least she thought in that final moment before excruciating pain overcame her, she had tried. So this isn't. I wouldn't say it's bad. Well, I said before that I think it wasn't as great writing that doesn't feel like he compelled to kill her. But this was the moment I was just like, man, F Sozin. I freaking hate stuff. he killed he killed her.
Yeah, like I said,
Which is
at the
which is
beginning,
good writing that I which is good writing that I care enough about this character that I'm pissed off at the other
yeah,
character for killing
at the beginning of the movie, I at least had some reservations about hating Sozin, but at least in the moment, like an appropriate place and time, and
her.
it just goes away real fast.
Yeah,
It's a parabola of
yeah.
dislike.
Yeah. So Sozin thinks there's a next chapter where he thinks how close he was to become the Avatar. Because he thinks like, oh, Roku wasn't cut out to be the Avatar. Not like Yasu, who had been born minutes before Roku. Not like Sozin, who had been born minutes before Yasu. Perhaps he thought, now for the first time, this had all been some cosmic miscalculation. Like, it's man, he got some god complex, I think, uh, which is true. Let's see. Yeah, so that's that chapter. Then Sozin arrives and like Roku's meditating, and then there's a Sozin versus Ulo fight, and I can't really follow that well. Then Roku snaps into the real world, and then he has the last attack on Ulo, burning like bright blue iridescent type of light and stuff like that. And then he kills Ulo, even though he didn't want to.
Completely okay with
Anything
that,
else?
given the existing
Yeah,
parameters of the cave.
yeah,
We have established that it's tough to control.
yeah. Two wicks. Next chapters, two wicks come back for the body and let go. Roku meets Kyoshi. That's cool. Also cool where anytime I can see any type of Kyoshi.
Yeah, it was a
Uh,
nice throw in. Absolutely.
Kyoshi pretty much tells them like, listen, you did what you had to do. Uh, like you killed them. Sometimes you got to kill a mother effer. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
then she smokes a cigarette. She's like, hey, sometimes you just gotta kill a guy. Not
Marge.
yourself. It's all in it.
That's exactly how that went down.
Yeah. And then Roger was like, maybe prison would have worked. And then she's like,
Eh.
would it have been more humane ending for him to slowly waste away in a cage? Or well, so we'll learn in maybe the next chapter, I think. Yeah, next chapter. Which anyway,
I'm just saying
um,
she presents reasonable points.
the interesting thing about Kyoshi's characterization in this book. is that it feels almost like a step back. And this goes to, and I'm not saying this is bad writing at all. Kyoshi lived to 230. In the next chapter, okay, in the next chapter, Sister Disha arrives, and she talks to Roku about Kyoshi, because Sister Disha was actually a companion of Kyoshi, and that's why they paired her with Roku. She says it's interesting things. I'm skipping over a few things. Anyway, the threat is gone. Ulo's dead. Whatnot. Okay. But Sister Disha says, um, I always just love how sometimes people in the Avatar universe talk the Avatar. She says, "You and I were close friends in your previous life." I just love that sentence. It's like we were, and she's like, uh, sprung for him. Sister Disha says she was as powerful an Avatar as everyone believes. Were you one of her companions? For more than 20 years, in fact. I was her final airbending companion. So you must have been there when we parted ways 2 years before she passed. Roku asks why. And then she goes on to say, you know how when you're flying on a sky bison, the people below shrink smaller and smaller the higher you go until they become specks that gradually fade away? Kyoshi had lived so long, become so powerful as Avatar, that I believe she had lost perspective on the inherent value of individual lives. Don't get me wrong, you could study the entirety of human history and you might not find someone who did as much good as she did for the world, but in her relentless pursuit of justice and peace, she seemed to hesitate less and less when determining whether the threat someone posed outweighed their right to live. And then she goes on to say, like, after one mission, our last together, it turned out a Dao Fei leader in Earth Kingdom we've been pursuing was the son of a man she'd executed many years prior. So, like, I wonder who this would have been. Like, I'm in my head, I immediately went to Zhu, but that would have been like 150 years before. More like 200 years before. Yeah, because if Kyoshi died when she was 230, this conversation will put her at 228. She was like 17 when she killed Zhu. Dao Fei's still around. Wow, that's interesting. Um, anyway, she says every terrible thing he and his group of outlaws had done, and they committed many of the worst atrocities you can imagine, had been for the sole purpose of drawing Avatar Kyoshi's attention, so that he'd have the chance to face her himself. After she settled the matter, I pointed out how that man's settled being like she killed him. I pointed out how that man's life had been shaped by her decision to kill his father. I asked her to consider how many of the fires we've been running all over the world to put out might have been lit by her. I told her that I feared what she was becoming, what she might be if she lived another 100 years. Maybe I was wrong, but when I looked inward, that was what I felt to be true. Um, and then she says that if he asked how Kyoshi responded, she said, to put it lightly, therefore I left. I shared my concerns with the council. Wait, first person. Shadow of the spin. Anyway, so that's how they parted. But then 2 years later, Kyoshi died, and I think that Sister Disha's, I think Sister Disha was right in that sense, and I think Kyoshi got to the point of like, all right, am I doing better? Because I think Kyoshi decided to. I think it says that she died fairly peacefully when she was like 230. Kyoshi just realized that uh, it says, I know you said you weren't with her in the end, but do you know how she died? And then it says, for despite the fact Kyoshi had been the longest known living avatar, or human for that matter, nobody seemed to know how death had finally managed to catch up to her. And she says, I don't. But perhaps she realized that sometimes people see us more clearly than we see ourselves and then let go. So, yeah, so that's probably how Kyoshi died. She probably just stopped the cell regeneration thing. My point is, this book takes kind of a step back with the depiction of Kyoshi, right? Like, so when we watch Avatar fans before the Kyoshi novels, think of Kyoshi as this like bloodthirsty, almost vengeful person. And the Kyoshi novels came out, I was like, oh wow, she's way more complex than that. she didn't just kill willy nilly. Like she killed, but she killed with purpose. And some people hate this depiction of her because again, it it re puts her at that position. But I don't think it's bad writing because I think at 230 years old, being that powerful, you probably can't help become jaded. Like you're like, all right, I've seen this story over and over again. In fact, this is Dalfei. This is the son of someone I killed before. Like nothing is freaking changing. Like she probably starts to lose some faith in humanity and probably some of her humanity, and just like she's like, I don't have time for this. Kill you, kill you. I I don't like that she becomes that, but I don't think it's bad writing. I think it makes sense that she becomes more of that as she got to be 230 years old.
We talk about it all the time. Being a good human is choppy, ebbs and flows, all that. It's not smooth. Uh, I don't like. There's something smug is probably too strong a word, but about Sister Disha here that I don't love, and she's not my favorite character. But
You hate Sister Deesh.
I
I'm kidding.
don't I don't care a ton for Sister Disha. But this is my favorite part of the whole novel was hearing this anecdote and getting to think more
Oh, okay.
about Kyoshi. And I
Yeah.
like that it's well presented and it is a pretty valid explanation of the decline of Kyoshi and the Batman. You didn't say it, but I'll say it. The Batman line about living long enough to see yourself become the villain. Like, yeah, that's a great example. And I had a bet with myself going that you would have said it much earlier than now. Uh, all the other parts of this book aside, that again I mostly liked. This was my favorite like lesson or my favorite takeaway from the entire story. I thought it was a really neat look at the end of Kyoshi's life. And the challenges of being an avatar. Like you could be literally the best avatar of all time
Mhm.
and still potentially feasibly err. Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved thinking about it. I thought about it for like a solid day after. I was like, how much do I believe
Oh,
this
okay.
grumpy old airbending bat?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah, it was great. Loved it. Ate it up.
So yeah, so I kind of skimmed over. The sister Disha arrived, and they got to help all the people and stuff. Well, Gyatso was like, I gotta find Malayla. And then Roku wakes up, and everyone catches everything up on the events that what happened. Malayla, they end up finding the body. Roku talks to Gyatso about her, and Gyatso has to deal again with losing a person close to him. Now, here's where there's some more bad writing, I think. I feel like I'm sometimes too hard on this novel, but they say her body was found and is burned to a crisp. Then they say the last time someone saw her, she was with Sozin, and that's what they went into the cave together. You could put two and two together and get four pretty easily on what happened to her.
Mm-hmm.
And Roku don't know math. He's not Zeto. He can't put two and two together to get four. He puts two and two together and he gets one.
I it feels like it's short sighting Roku's ability to be like a decent person at all, but man, it's really late. But I'm okay with still trying to allow. I'll say bad writing because they should have made it a little more nebulous or something.
Well, they could
Because
have
I
just
would have
had
been
her.
okay with this still being like a Roku being in denial, like having some evidence but not so blatant.
They could have just had her die from a rock falling on. The lie could have just been, oh, the cave tumbled in and a rock fell on her.
Yeah, and
And
it would have been
Sozin
plenty.
could have killed her. Sozin could have killed her with a rock.
So I don't mind
Boom.
the larger idea of still maintaining that turmoil in Roku and that denial, but I don't like the way it was done. No.
Yeah. Like that would have given him some type of plausible benefit of the doubt of like, I don't think Sozin would have killed her. And also, she died by like the caves were caving in, but they found a burnt body
Hmm?
in the last time. Yeah, but
Agreed.
to me, it's so easy to fix. Just fits it that he
Just
didn't
just a little
run her up.
smoothing. Just pick a different angle.
Yeah. Also, I think it makes it worse that like the next couple chapters, Roku and Sozin are back buddying up. In the chapters, leverage something meaningful. Ever shifting currents. An epilogue. Roku convinces Sozin to let the island be free and unbothered. And he agrees to that. Also, there's another stipulation that Sozin has to make air temples essentially in the capital, and he does that. Although they allude that it probably only lasts like a year or so until they were taken down. Roku gives a great speech, which I do think was a really great speech that he gave after these events took place. Then he does some air training with Sister Disha, and then in epilogue, Sozin and his crew go back to the island like it's Lost. Even though I never seen Lost, but I know that's a thing. Got to go back to the island. Um, they go back to the island to search for rare metals, and I don't care about the rare metals thing. I don't know why. Maybe that's the next plot of the next story.
Oh, it's got to be right.
Yeah.
Almost certainly.
I just it's like, hey, we came here to find a really, really powerful way to increase our bending. Instead, we find rare metals that
And it had to come from here to make sure that this story had some lingering value or stakes at all. Otherwise, nothing would have happened. But yeah, that's
yeah,
almost certainly going to be the crux of the next novel.
yeah. Which I'm looking forward to. But yeah, so that's the book.
I'm skeptical about the next one because the joys that I took from this one might not be recreatable, and we'll talk more about those some other time. But the joys that I took from this one, like discovering the new island and the bender, like all four types of benders living together, that's
Yeah, we
that
didn't
was
talk
my
much about
yeah,
that, but
and
that was a
that
really good
yeah
aspect of all the benders living together and stuff like that. It was. I thought that would inform Roku's perspective on the world. They're like, hey, maybe we all can get together and stuff. But Roku's kind of has the opposite approach later when he's like, the four nations must be that, just four. Like, and it's like, well, why? I don't know.
I
They just seem to conflict.
um yeah. But I think for the next novel, I'm concerned that we get more and more into we definitely know what happens territory. At least this was a little bit of a surprise, and that was a neat, I don't know, a neat way to carry a Roku story that we didn't necessarily know it was going to happen. And I don't know if that'll be recreatable in the next book. Like we pretty much know the next book's going to be some version of Roku growing farther apart from Sozin somehow or other, and Fire
Yeah.
Nation stocking up, and probably Earth Nation stocking up too. Like Roku versus War. Um, yeah, so I
Mm.
don't know. So I have concerns about the next book being very interesting, but like always, read it.
Yeah.
This one
Maybe
turned out
maybe
slightly more interesting than I would have guessed based on my initial feelings.
my expectations were accurately met.
Okay, fair enough.
But for good or and you know what? There are some aspects though. It's really the Gyatso Malala relationship. Well, to me, that's that's the crux of my enjoyment of this novel. Even though I enjoyed other stuff as well, but man, I love those two characters.
I love all the positive relationships and the way this guy writes them. I like Gyatso and Roku, even Roku and Sozin, Roku
Yeah.
and girl whose name I can't remember, Gyatso and Malaya, like all of the
Um.
kind of positive relationships were kind of introspective and nice. I don't know that this person is quite as good of a writer as FCE overall, but like I said, I like that when we were getting a Roku story about which I didn't think I was going to care at all, and he made me care the whole way through. So even if it got a little bit, I forget which Indiana Jones, but I always think of that, like nothing changed. No matter what happened, they open the Ark of the Covenant and the Nazis die, or whatever it was.
Yeah, and I think the the thing is that in the Kyoshi novels, the only character we know is Kyoshi. Everyone else is fair game to die at any point in time,
Yep.
or something that happens to them. In the Yang Chen novels, only character we know is Yang Chen, I believe. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
as far as
Yang
I
Chen.
know.
Yeah, and also we don't know when Yang Chen died. I assume she was pretty old because she was such an accomplished avatar, but that's not confirmed when she died. She could have been 40. She could have been 30. I don't know. But again, every other character is a new character. Even though I don't like those characters nearly as much as characters in the Kyoshi novels. And actually, I will
That's fair.
say I probably like the side characters in this novel more than the Yang Chen novels, besides Chasey. Like Kavik, I'm still not like I don't know. Kavik is
He's not my favorite by any stretch.
yeah. But nonetheless, I don't know what happens to any of them. Like Kavik could have died, and in fact, did he? Yeah, he faked his death that one time. Um, but this novel, 3 of the 5 main characters, I know exactly how their story is, and
Yeah.
so it takes away some of the it takes away a lot of the stakes.
Some of the good payoff that you would hope for.
Yeah. Not only do I know how they end, I know how their relationships are throughout parts of their lives.
Yeah, and there's a lot of predictability in between.
Yeah.
But oh well. Like I said, part of our qualm here is just like selecting a bad slice.
Yeah,
And
that's not even the author's fault.
yeah, it could
Like what?
I don't know where that blame necessarily goes. Is that the author or was Avatar Studios like we gotta have some Roku content, you know? I
I'm I'm pretty confident that the way FCE was approached, someone approached him to write a Kyoshi novel. Like Kyoshi was already chosen, so I think these things are chosen and then they pick the author. I don't think FCE was like, oh, I want to write about Yang Chen. I think that was just like them, like, oh yeah, the next one should be Yang Chen. So then the next one is, I think the people, whoever does the marketing was like, I think the audience will like a Roku novel.
yeah.
And then I also think they misjudged because I don't think the audience is like, oh, I want a Roku novel. At least
Uh
I can speak for myself.
just thinking about in marketing terms, I mean it's always easier to sell a known commodity, I think. Right?
True.
So it's not what we
I
want and
think
maybe even
maybe
what a lot of fans want, but from big picture marketing.
I could see it being more. Ooh, I'm sorry. I think for I think for fans who read the Kyoshi and the Yangcha novels, I don't think Roku was a novel that they wanted. But I think for Avatar fans who haven't read any of the novels, who's most closely related to Avatar is Roku, it's probably like, oh, maybe I'll dive into this is about Roku.
Yeah.
And also characters that they know, it might be more approachable or appealing for them.
It's an easier broad sell, probably, I think.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
yeah. Chris, it's really late. I'm going to bed.
We always do these so long. That first Kyoshi novel, I think we recorded for 4 hours.
Yeah, that was so good, though.
Cause yeah, because Jamie joined us for that one.
Yeah, well, and she's very insightful, right? And we both talk a lot,
Yeah.
and she's insightful and talks a lot, and boom, 4 hours later. No, that's just a great novel.
And it was watched a lot. It was that got like
That's a big one.
5,000 or maybe more views.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
hundreds, I want to say hundreds of downloads on podcast.com, which is great. through the various
Oh,
sites.
cool.
That's big. It was one of our bigger ones. But anyway,
Oh my
uh,
gosh.
thanks for watching our very spoilery summary of I already forgot what it's called, Reckoning of Roku.
Oh, you know what's stupid, Shawn? Is that I, for some reason, have trouble spelling Reckoning of Roku. I want to put a G right before the first N and maybe not use the K. I've misspelled this word so many times typing
It, God bless autocorrect. The Reckoning of Roku. See, in my mind, it's just Roku 1, and the next one will just be Roku 2. Also, I don't like the word reckoning. It just sounds too like, all I can picture is like my
it.
grandpa saying, "You reckon?" And like,
Yeah.
that's not an inspiring book title. No offense,
I
grandpa.
actually don't mind this. I actually don't mind this title compared to the other ones because I do think Roku has things to reckon with. While like the
I
other
reckon
titles,
so. I reckon so.
while the other titles are just kind of vague, like titles that you give stuff.
Yeah.
The Shadow of Kyoshi, The Rise, The Legacy, The Dawn. It's just
I prefer the
too
Kyoshi
much.
titles over the Yangchen titles too. The Rise and the Shadow is maybe slightly more telling than the
Yeah,
Legacy and
yeah,
the Dawn, but
yeah.
picking nits
But they're
there
not
for
they're not
sure.
better than Avatar Kitsune et Zeto. That has a lot of meaning to it. But
Man,
but it's not over your head.
my softball team wants to rename our softball team. The Oakland Athletics are moving to Las Vegas, but not before they spend 2 years temporarily in Sacramento. And so I kind of want our softball team to be the Oakland Athletics of Las Vegas, presented by Sacramento. It's been a popular suggestion. Anyway, thanks for. It's like I gotta go to bed. I'm gonna die. Thanks for watching Avatar: The Last Podcasters and our review of The Reckoning of Roku Part 2. And my name's Shawn. That's Chris Ford, aka The Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter. Please leave us all of the positive reviews and comments, likes, thumbs up, subs, bells, hearts, retweets, whatever.
Review.
All the good stuff. Great reviews. We appreciate all your interactions. We're very grateful for that. And we will see you next time.